You know, Pokemon Go basically has an inclinometer in it so that it knows how high to put the Pokemon above your head. Inclinometer. I-N-C-L-I-N-O-M-E-T-E-R. Inclinometer. What is the difference between an inclinometer and a protractor? If you think back to your high school or middle school days, you might remember using a protractor in math class or geometry class or maybe a physics class. And it was that piece of plastic, probably clear. It was this hemispherical shape and it was flat. And we used it to measure the angles between two lines. So I can distinctly remember being taught that all of the internal angles of a triangle add up to like 180 degrees. We had to always use protractors to confirm that. And I was fine measuring one triangle. I trusted it. And they made us measure more and more triangles. So anyway, that's my memory of protractors. I don't have as boring memories of that, like that with inclinometers. I first used inclinometers, I think in physics class, but I first maybe used that word in work when I was setting up like mechanical testing jigs and stuff. What is an inclinometer then, and how is it different from a protractor? Well, the word inclinometer you might know from the ending part, that meter part of the word. The meter part implies that it's a measuring device. And the first part of the word is coming from incline. And what is an incline? It's a special type of angle. It's a very specific angle. It's the angle of a surface, or the slope of a surface. It's the angle at which a surface makes with respect to gravity, or the perpendicular of gravity. You're basically measuring the slope of the ground, for example, the incline of the ground. And that is a very special angle. We aren't just measuring angles all over the place. I can measure the angle that a book makes when I open it between the front and back covers. That is not an incline. An incline is very specific. It's the angle with respect to gravity, basically. And so a tool that measures that incline is an inclinometer. There are other words that you might use to describe that. I think that astrolabes were used to do that if you're a pirate. I'm not a pirate, so I don't really use the word astrolabe all the time. They also use it if you're an astronomer. I might want to use that in a more common situation. And you can use a protractor to become an inclinometer. So if you made a Venn diagram of protractors, some of them might be inclinometers. And so we're going to distill that meaning down. An inclinometer is a measuring tool that measures angles with respect to gravity. That's our engineering word of the day. Inclinometer. Hi there, this is Pius Wong, producer of this podcast and producer of the K-12 Engineering Education Podcast. If you're into what you've been listening to, and if you're into engineering or education or some combination of the two, go on over to www.k12engineering.net to find out more about what I'm doing. Thanks for listening.